The Lansu Chinese Garden is one of only 8 classical Chinese gardens in all of North America, and it's right here in Portland. When you become a member for $100 a year, the Family and Friends membership extends benefits to 2 card holders and up to 4 guests per card, with free daily admission and discounts to the garden shop and tea house. You'll also save on unique gifts from local vendors and on tickets to special events. Plus, you can visit other cultural destinations across the state with their reciprocal admission program. Learn more and join today at lansugarden.org/membership.
Hey, it's Claudia here with John, jumping in before today's episode to catch up on the news that broke on Thursday evening about the shooting by federal officers in East Portland. John, we're taping this right now at 4:31 Thursday afternoon. What do we know so far?
Yeah, we are in the very early moments of a breaking news story, so I'm sure that details are going to change quickly, but here's what we know so far. A U.S. Customs and Border Protection agent shot 2 people in Portland this afternoon. That's according to the FBI. The police responded to the incident in East Portland just after 2 p.m. They said a man and a woman were taken to a local hospital with apparent gunshot wounds. Their condition is not immediately known. We did hear from Portland Police Bureau Chief Bob Day, who said, quote, "We're in the early stages of this incident. We understand the heightened emotion and tension that many people are feeling in the wake of the shooting in Minneapolis, but I am asking the community to remain calm as we work to learn more."
Portland Mayor Keith Wilson also said he is calling on ICE to end all operations in Portland until a full investigation can be completed. And in that same statement, he called on every Portlander to represent our values and to show up with calm and purpose during this difficult time. He continued, "Portland does not respond to violence with violence. We respond with clarity, unity, and a commitment to justice. We must stand together to protect Portland." And this is all so crazy because we were literally just talking about the possibility of having a serious incident with ICE here in Portland in the roundup that you're just about to hear.
That we taped this morning. Yeah, just a couple hours ago. This is a big development. And again, we don't know a lot, but we will continue to update people as we find out more. Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into today's Friday roundup. Today on CityCast Portland, we're talking about National Guard troops in Oregon finally being told to go home. Governor Kotek's push to repeal the transportation package she herself supported, and TriMet's plan to cut bus lines in response to their budget crisis. Joining me on this week's Friday News Roundup are Stumptown Savings founder Brian Vance and our very own executive producer, John Atariani. It's Friday, January 9th. I'm Claudia Meza, and this is what Portland's talking about. Welcome, everyone, to the Friday News Roundup. Brian, John, thank you for joining me this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Claudia.
Good morning. Today is the day we break down some of the biggest local stories of the week with some of the best and brightest journalists in town. But before we jump into the news, I usually ask our guests an opening question so any of our new listeners can get to know us all a little better. And our opening question today was inspired by a creative solution the Southern Oregon city of Lakeview came up with when they needed to find funding for some new snowplows. And instead of raising taxes that nobody wanted to pay, leaders found 12 local volunteers to pose for a nude calendar. And they are selling that calendar for $25. 59 if you're ordering from out of the country and using that money as a donation towards their snowplow. I know these exact figures because I just ordered this calendar for myself and will very soon have it posted behind me somewhere here.
Are these tasteful nudes, Claudia? Or
Well, so the 2026 Outback calendar, that's what it's called, Outback calendar, pictures almost nude citizens in various outdoor scenes. I saw when there was someone in like a kind of like a water trough, you know, with a little cowboy hat. They're very they're very creative placements of hats and tools. So these are tasteful nudes, Brian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And pretty much all the models are middle-aged or older. So what ended up getting captured were some really joyful, zany Oregonians bearing it all for the betterment of their community.
Oh my God.
That's so cool.
We need this in your studio, Claudia, so we can enjoy it.
I think every Oregonian needs this, honestly.
So my question to you is, if you were able to get 12 Portland volunteers for your very own calendar, nude or otherwise, what would your calendar be? And what would those funds go to in your own city?
So, okay, I was thinking about it and I was like, what is something that Portlanders universally love? And I decided that it is getting sort of frustrated and bent out of shape about Portland-specific microaggressions. So I was thinking a calendar of like Portland-specific things that make people angry. Like a line at the bar where there isn't supposed to be a line at the bar, or not waiting in line when you're supposed to wait in line, or like parking the wrong way. And there could be one of those on the calendar each month that people could like get mad about, and then they'd feel better all month long.
Oh my God.
That's great.
And the money would go towards, I don't know, kids.
Just kids, general.
Kids.
Kids. Really thought through, John.
Clearly thought through the first half of that question a little bit more.
Brian, what about you?
So mine would be, I would gather a collection of Portlanders and ride around the city and find the biggest potholes in town and have them pose just like sitting in the pothole. That would be your calendar, and the funds would be to fill the damn potholes because we need that money bad. We could do fun things like some of these potholes are huge. You could probably like set up a picnic inside a pothole or a swimming pool. There's one down the road from me that's basically a kiddie pool. So you could do some fun stuff in it. But yeah, that would be my goal. The money would go to PBOT or a like rogue pothole filling crew, like just like a citizens pothole brigade that goes out and patches these potholes themselves.
The Potholians.
The Potholians. There we go.
When is it no longer a pothole and when is it a crater?
Yeah. There should be a different term for some of these potholes because some of them are massive.
Well, my calendar idea would be to take pictures of 12 of the most attractive Portland cocktail bartenders, which, let's be honest, that would be hard to narrow down because they're all hot. But anyhow, each picture would be them making their favorite cocktail at their respective bar, and the recipe would also be shared on the picture.
Nice.
Yeah, and because this is all pretend, the money would go towards a city-led healthcare fund for our hardworking service workers.
Aww,
see how I did that,
that's
John?
Actually, really cool.
It's nice. Yeah.
I'm sorry, kids.
Kids.
I like this idea of just handing cash out to children on the street. What could go wrong?
Good job. Do not take that dollar from that man.
Hey, man. We'll figure out the details later. I'm thinking
I
big.
love it. All right, John, you're starting us off this week. What are you looking into?
Yeah, I am talking about finally the end of the ongoing threat of troops coming to Portland because the announcement has officially been made that the National Guard reserves are going home. This comes from a bunch of great reporting at the Oregonian, specifically by Zane Sparling, Carlos Fuentes, Maxine Bernstein, Jonathan Bach. They've really been sort of following this story over the last week. To recap, back on December 31st, President Trump announced on Truth Social he's abandoning his push to deploy National Guard troops to 3 U.S. cities, including right here in Portland. That kind of caps this crazy fall that we've had ever since Trump announced that he was going to send troops into Portland in late September. You might remember in November, a federal judge issued a permanent injunction barring the president from deploying these troops. In late December, the U.S. Supreme Court left in place a ruling blocking the National Guard troops in Illinois. And this Monday, U.S. Northern Command officially ordered the demobilization of the final 100 Oregon National Guard troops. They'd been at a couple training facilities in Clackamas County and on the coast, just sort of chilling, I guess, just getting ready to deploy, even though no real deployment actually happened. Governor Kotek announced the move on Tuesday. So yeah, I mean, the troops are going to be going home. Interestingly, they don't go straight home, even though some of them live here. The Guard members now have to travel to Texas to complete the demobilization before ultimately returning home. So basically, that is the end of this saga for now. When the president announced this, he did say, but if there's more crime, we'll come back. We're not done. We're just taking a break and focusing on other things.
Oh my God.
But yeah, and, we can get into it. There is like the slimmest sliver of potential sort of like legal mishaps to continue. But this is pretty much the end of it. How do you guys feel?
Well, Brian, do you want to go first? Because I have feelings.
That sounds like exhausted.
We both were like...
Yeah, it's just
exhausted by the entire ordeal.
I'm just ready for it all to be done. Like the amount of money that was probably wasted federally on this, and the fact that, like John said, like what is the reason that they have to go to Texas to like demobilize? Like it's just so silly. I do find it funny though that the man who led an insurrection against our government is saying that next time he'll incite the Insurrection Act so that he can come back to Portland. It's
all
just
irony
like,
lost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's so silly. And I mean, okay, it's not silly because it's really scary. It's really dangerous. It's really dumb. But it's just silly that we have to keep doing this stupid shit.
It's absurd.
Yeah. And let me explain how dangerous it is. On January 7th, Renee Nicole Good, a 37-year-old woman and U.S. citizen, was fatally shot by ICE agents in Minneapolis, Minnesota. She was kind of like watching an ICE operation. Her car was idling. ICE agents approached her. There's a video that clearly shows that she was trying to drive away as ICE agents shot her in the head. It's unclear what was going on otherwise, though, I mean, that should be enough for people to say, hey, that's not legal.
Right.
So right now, Minneapolis has erupted. Like there are protests. And when I heard that, I was like, that could have been us, you guys.
100%. Anytime you put a force of armed people around a population of citizens, like you run the risk of potentially catastrophic events. I mean, I grew up in Ohio where the memory of the National Guard opening fire on college students is a thing that's ingrained in every classroom, like high school history class, that's a thing that happened. And it wasn't, those students weren't doing anything insane. Like it happens. It's just a risk that you run when you take these extreme measures that are not necessary. And when you put people with weapons of war on city streets.
Yeah. The other bummer is that our government is painting this as this is her fault. She tried to run over an agent. That's what the president said. I'm starting to feel the word isn't defeated. The word is disoriented.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, like, when is it, okay, guys, we really have to do something about this. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then what is this? Like, what is it that we do? Like, do we get our pitchforks? Like, what do we do? Yeah. So I'm getting to that point where I'm like, okay, guys, this is, and even though it didn't happen here, it really feels like I feel somehow very connected to this.
Yeah.
And Governor Walz has actually, I don't know if you heard his speech, but he specifically called out Portland and was like, Portland, we need you to stand. And I'm like, he's activating us and I don't understand. Like, what are we supposed to do? Like, I understand he's like, yeah, like, I want you to protest or whatever, but it's just like, but like, let's be honest, what is that going to accomplish?
Yeah, it is an interesting situation that we are in as Portland, as being kind of thrust into the spotlight as this like icon of protest and resistance against the federal government. I mean, which on one hand I think is something to be proud of, but it does, put us into a situation where it's like, I think that the president had an eye on Portland in the first place because of just the media narrative surrounding the city, clearly divorced from anything that was actually happening here.
Yeah.
And it is like a very strange moment where, like, on one hand, like there's the slimmest sort of legal possibility that this thing could come back around. There is still the Ninth Circuit ruling, which hasn't been closed down yet. And Attorney General Dan Rayfield did say within the last week that he's treating it as if that is still open. But like realistically, it doesn't matter. We are dealing with a federal government that like actually isn't super interested in the sort of legal process in general. So like, like, great, this immediate threat is over, but like, we all know and we've seen at this point it could just turn on a dime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But thankfully, Trump got Portland down to no crime. So that was great.
Right.
Almost
He fixed
no
crime.
crime. He literally wrote, Portland, we got it down to almost no crime.
Yeah.
But we can go back. We're allowed to go back in, but we'll go back in when the crime starts. This is like a toddler talking. Do you know, like, that's what's so scary, you guys, is when I read his words, I'm like, this man is not well. And I don't want us to feel defeated. I'm trying to figure out, I don't know why I'm like processing this with you guys, but I'm like, the thing what we shouldn't feel is defeated. We should not feel defeated, but I'm trying to figure out, okay, what is it that we do now?
Right.
But I do want to shout out CityCast Twin Cities, who has been covering what's going on since ICE shot and killed an unarmed citizen. If you want more details on what happened, I'd suggest heading there. The other disorienting part of all this for me is having to sort through national news outlets for the full truth. And this is why local media is so important.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing that we learned over the course of this fall is just when we are under threat, how great Portlanders are at coming together and how creative and how resourceful and, how much we can do to sort of set things on the terms that matter to us, of turning what could be a very violent protest movement into something that is joyful and inclusive and inspiring. And I think that that is the kernel that we should take away from all of this and keep track of next time this comes around. Just remember who we are and just do it again on our own terms.
Yeah, I guess
Absolutely.
what I'm saying is I'm feeling a little unable to process what's happening nationally.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to us, I'm like, yeah, I have full faith of Portland and what we're able to do here. But naturally, I'm just like, how do we help? you know?
Right.
And then so I guess that's where I'm like, I'm processing this.
Let alone internationally. I mean, when it looked like we were going to talk about this topic a couple days ago, I thought for sure we were going to be talking about Venezuela and Greenland.
Oh, man.
Remember
what a
that?
world we live in.
Yeah, I remember that. I think that's where I'm just like, guys, it's getting, like, what costume do we put on? That's
Yeah, exactly.
all right.
What inflatable next?
I know. TBC, you guys. It's clearly, I'm still just like, I want to hear what people are thinking. Like, hit us Portland at CityCast.fm. There's no way I'm the only person thinking this. I want to know what everyone else is thinking. Let us know. We're going to figure this out together. All right. Well, let's take a quick break here. When we come back, more headlines of the week.
Thinking about buying a home in 2026? Well, make sure you do it right. Because most people begin the whole process backwards, falling in love with listings before they understand their financial options. James Adair is a Portland mortgage strategist with Neo Home Loans, powered by Better. He works with buyers across Oregon, Washington, and California, helping them get clear before they start house hunting. A strategic conversation with James helps you see the full picture: what you can afford, how to structure your financing, and how homeownership fits with your wealth-building goals. Visit pdxhomeloan.com to schedule your strategic conversation. No pressure, no obligation, just clarity on your 2026 real estate goals. James Adair, NMLS 272766 with Better Mortgage, NMLS 330511, an equal housing lender.
So this week, I was going to be looking into the Portland City Council's vote for a new president, but after 9 stalemate votes and a bit of mudflinging, as of today's taping on Thursday morning, we still don't have a new city council president. In case you didn't know, the current candidates are Ilana Perdolgini and Samir Kanal. I've never felt more sorry for a group of public servants than I did watching that city council meeting. There was actual conversation about a coin flip. That's how certain members were just like, we're done. Didn't get to that.
Oh, boy.
Relatable, the meeting that goes on too long.
Oh, boy.
Oh, my God. So instead, I'm going to be discussing Governor Kotek's push to repeal the transportation funding package she herself championed and helped shepherd through the very last few weeks of last year's legislative session. I relied on reporting by Carlos Fuentes from the Oregonian. Now, to set the scene, a Republican-led group challenged that transportation package tax hike and submitted enough signatures to delay the taxes until voters could decide on the matter in November. So they're sending that stuff to ballot. But guess what we're also deciding in November? Who our new governor will be. And Governor Kotek is up for re-election. So now she's going back to her own party and saying, hey, we got to do something about this because ain't no way my name is going to be on the same ballot with this now very controversial tax hike our party voted in and I supported. And this Wednesday morning, she called on legislators to repeal the entire transportation funding package. This includes not only the tax hikes, it also includes other legislation in the law that would have given the state more oversight over the Oregon Department of Transportation. So she asked them to instead take emergency action in the short session that's starting February 2nd to prevent layoffs and help address ODOT's projected $242 million budget shortfall. So she urged them to find that money magically from other transportation programs, including major projects and basic services like road maintenance. I'm like, yeah, we don't have money though. Like, how many more calendars?
Right. Where are you?
How many more calendars are we all supposed to freaking make, you know? So Senate Republican leader Bruce Starr of Dundee was quoted as saying, Governor Kotek is not repealing the bill because she suddenly discovered it was bad policy. She is doing it because Oregonians stood up, made their voices heard, and forced her to make a political decision to save face. And though I hate saying this, I have to agree with him. The saving face part of like backtracking, but also there is a reason why she's like, we got to do the whole package if we're going to take out the tax hikes. And the reason is you can't have the most popular parts of like, hey, oversight, doing all these other stuff without the money.
Right. You have to pay for it somehow.
You have to pay for all this stuff. You know? Where does that come from? So it's unclear how much support Kotek's plan has from lawmakers from either parties. Because again, if the repeal goes through, we're back to square one. No transportation package. And at the same place where Republican legislators are saying they will not vote for any tax increases. So it feels like, even though I didn't cover the city council, it felt, again, I was like, another stalemate? You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, can we just bring the coin in? Can we elect a coin for governor?
We named Portland via a coin flip. Maybe we should do more things via coin flip in Oregon.
Seriously. So Kotek told reporters on Wednesday that she plans to meet with a group of lawmakers next week to begin crafting an updated plan. So more on that. What do you guys think?
This is so dumb. This is so dumb and so frustrating. I mean, there was months and months. There was like a year of work, a regular legislative session, a special legislative session.
I was going to say, they went into overtime.
You know, and now we're suddenly back at square one on this. It is another like notch on the list of the dumb ways that we make laws that don't make sense in this city, in this state. And another sort of like, I gotta give credit to Oregon Republicans for finding ways to fuck up the Democrats with a minority of legislators, you know, between the walkouts and like this ballot initiative. It's like, woo, they are doing a good job of preventing laws from being laws.
They're
Jesus Christ.
At not being effective.
Well, do you guys think that she should have just rolled with it and been like, okay, fine, this repeal, which may not pass? Because the thing is that the polls were saying that a lot of Democrats and Republicans both were like, we hate this tax hike.
No, I actually think given the situation that the state is in right now, this was actually a smart move. Because what I read it as is like, okay, there was this proposal that was going to go to a ballot in November, which means that like all of this funding is on hold that the state needs for almost a year. And there's a special legislative session coming up. So what I'm guessing is going to happen, there's going to be a quick repeal, a new proposal that gets pushed through in this special session that is happening this year, which means that the Republicans are not going to have enough time to get another ballot initiative on the books, and it'll go through. I think if this works out and the dominoes fall in the way that I imagine they're trying, this could be, you know, even though it's a bad situation, a pretty smart end run. And there is a mechanism for, okay, like getting into the weeds of how like laws work. There's usually a caveat that like laws can't go into effect for 90 days until after a legislative session. So the special session is starting next month. That would mean that it would be 3 months until after that ends that the law can go into effect. But there is an emergency clause that you can put into a law, which makes it go into effect immediately. So conceivably, like this could be some jujitsu where they cancel the law that exists. Then they push a new one through, put an emergency clause in. It goes into effect immediately. And then the ballot initiative thing that would have repealed it is nullified.
Yeah.
That is like my sort of like 3D chess of what might be going on here.
I just don't think they can do it, John. I mean, they had a super majority in both houses, both the House and the Senate, and barely got this done. I don't see it. I think this is like an utter failure of leadership on Kotek's part. I think this is an utter failure of working together on the Democrats' part. And I just don't think they're going to pull off anything that is more than just another temporary Band-Aid that kicks the can down the road. Like, I just do not have faith that they're going to make lemonade out of lemons here.
Yeah, I'm straddling the fence on both your points here because one, John,
Claudia thinks John's idea might happen, but it will still suck.
Yeah. No, it's more because I was like, "Do you think this was smart?" And I actually didn't want to be like, "Because I do." I thought this was a brilliant political move. But I also thought it was really bad, governance and lawmaking. It's just politically speaking, I'm just like, well, that was smart because, we would have had nothing, because again, it's the tax hikes. They're not like repeal the law. They're like, we don't want these tax hikes. But it's like, then what are we going to do with the rest of the law that everyone worked so hard on? Yeah. So I know she's trying to find a way. She's like, no, we're still going to do this. But I also agree with you, Brian. It's like, it took so long to write this law that I'm like, this better be the entire session.
Right.
The entire special session is going to be this law. And how long is that going to take? And like, so I agree. I'm just like, I don't know. I'm going to hold my breath, I guess.
Well, maybe we just won't fund transit. Like,
yeah, fuck it. Who needs roads?
What could possibly happen? Nothing bad will happen, right?
Brian loves his potholes.
I love potholes. They're so fun to drive through and to break your axles in, all that. Yeah, more potholes.
Yeah.
I think what it really comes down to is Kotek is worried that she's not going to get reelected. I mean, she doesn't want her name on the ballot next to this statewide ballot measure of would you want to increase taxes? And I just personally find that like really disappointing that we're making decisions about long-term policy in the state based on one politician's reelection campaign. I just do not think that that's the way that we should be running our state.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. That's what I started off with and saying, like, this is why she's repealing is she doesn't want her name next to that ballot. The only thing, Brian, is that I think the fear with Democrats is that they're thinking, okay, if not Kotek, it's too soon to launch somebody else. I think that's what it is. Yeah. And if you remember, the Republicans had Drazen, and she came pretty close. And I think that's the fear, is that they're not going to have a strong enough candidate. And so, though I agree with you, at first I was like, just freaking lose, dude. I'm like, well, then who else wins? And then how much other policy will then be tied to that? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
100%.
I think that's part of it.
Yeah, I don't think it's one governor. I think it's the whole party.
I mean, I do think that's part of it. But I also, believe them when they say that, allowing this ballot initiative to go through, even if it doesn't pass, means another year without funding for all of this transportation infrastructure that we desperately need, I think it's definitely both. And I don't want to discount the fact that like allowing this to go to the ballot means that all of these projects that are desperately important across the entire state don't get funding.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's take a quick break here. And when we come back, more headlines of the week. All right, Brian, are you ready?
Yeah.
To talk about more transportation?
To dazzle us.
Yeah. Talking about transportation, I think it was John maybe who said like, what could happen if we defunded public transportation? Well, it's kind of happening. So TriMet facing a $300 million budget shortfall. So that's significantly more than what the state transportation agency is facing. Announced that they're going to be making some pretty big cuts to service. So starting in August, they are eliminating 11 bus lines entirely. They are modifying and changing, frequency of 24 other bus lines. And then the Max Green line, which they spent over $500 million creating and opening not that long ago, they're going to be cutting it in half. So rather than running from the Clackamas Town Center all the way to downtown Portland, it will now terminate at the Gateway Transit Center, and riders will have to transfer to a different MAX line or a different bus to continue on to downtown Portland. And this all really stems from the fact that costs have been rising, ridership has been decreasing, and it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Like, they have things they have to pay for. Where's the money coming from? If they're not going to get increased funding from the state, which is definitely not going to happen now that we're calling for this thing to be repealed, they have to make cuts. They don't just have a magic pot of money to pull from. And unfortunately, that means fewer options for people to take transit, which definitely doesn't help ridership numbers. You know, if ridership is already only at about 66% of what it was in 2019, cutting lines isn't going to help increase it, but it does reduce costs. I'm curious, what were your initial thoughts when you saw this? And like, how do you think TriMet should handle this?
Well, I immediately, and I know this is going to sound odd, Brian, but I immediately thought of who would be most affected. And so I thought about, people who have to get to work, people who have to get to certain services. And I also thought of like local businesses along the routes. So my curiosity led me to look at the maps and go, okay, like who actually is going to be affected? And what I did see is that a lot of the routes are in areas that are already served by, again, multiple bus lines and light rail trains. So it's not like any route has been eliminated.
Technically they are, but yes, there are like other alternatives you can take.
That's what I'm saying.
In the same area. Yeah.
I meant like route, like in general, like you could still get from point A to point B. It might, again, be a transfer or whatever, but they're just saying, hey, we don't need a direct line from here because there's just not enough people coming here. And for some reason that made me like, I'm like, well, if there's not enough people, I mean, I don't,
Yeah. And I spent some time looking at like the TriMet map, like, okay, cutting that green line service, that is a corridor that the blue and red lines are also running, like same stop to same stop, basically up to the Moda Center. It is the same service. So like, obviously nobody wants cuts. These are going to impact people. It's going to have cascading effects of challenges. But if there is a situation where we need to cut back service, sort of doing it along a line when there's literally another train running on the same tracks, I think is about as humane a way as you can do it. But yeah, it's not like ODOT directly funds TriMet one-to-one, but there is a relationship, and cuts in state money is a part of like why this challenge is happening. I mean, it just sort of shows that like when money stalls, when you like lose this funding, there are services that already exist and then they have to be scrapped, which is just such an extraordinary waste of money. It costs so much to develop these things and to operate and to run these things, and to just be like, oh, we don't have the money to operate them anymore. It really pisses me off.
Yeah, it gets back to inefficiencies. But I will say, to Claudia's point, and to your point, John, is like there is a lot of redundancy already built into the system.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of inefficiencies built into the system. So the bus that runs along 82nd stops at almost every single block on 82nd. That's incredibly inefficient, incredibly wasteful. There are things like that. There are cuts like that they can already make that would reduce costs, would speed up times, would help make the system more efficient. And it does seem like that's sort of the model they're focusing on. They're focusing on where are the cuts that they can make that will hurt the least, because we already have an alternative that runs in the area, or B, there was just so many options and they weren't being utilized that much that like getting rid of, a bus running every 15 minutes and switching it to every 45 minutes isn't going to be that big of a deal. So they're trying to make it work. But it's painful. People's commutes are going to take longer. Some people are going to, it's not going to work out for them. Like they're going to have to drastically change how they move around. And that is the result of not paying for the things that we need. Like that's what happens.
Yeah. I mean, and when you take a service like this and make it happen less frequently and make the stops further apart, I think that is inherently going to sort of depress ridership even further. And for a system that is still struggling with post-pandemic ridership, like I feel like there's been a lot of talk about the doom loop over the last year or so. Like that is a doom loop. You cut back service, ridership falls. You cut back service, ridership falls. I mean, I think it's a grim prospect.
Yeah. Well, transit riders and the public can weigh in on TriMet's plan to cut services by taking an online survey through the end of the month. The agency also has scheduled nearly a dozen in-person and online open houses through the end of the month as well. So if you guys right now are listening and you're just like, I have an opinion, or that is my bus line, go online, take this survey, let them know what you're thinking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these are just proposed cuts as of now. That said, they wouldn't have released them if that wasn't the preferred plan, but there's still a chance to sort of tweak what actually gets cut. So if you are impacted by this, definitely take the opportunity to make your voice heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Brian, thank you so much for looking into that. Appreciate you both hanging out with me this morning, going through some of the headlines. Apologies to those listening that we didn't have any wonderful news to share today.
Welcome to 2026.
I just realized this is our first full cast roundup of the year. Brian, I'm so glad it was you who was our guy.
Yeah, it's always good to be back.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think we've got some good ideas about calendars that people could run with. So there's some good news.
We're going to fund all these departments with our new calendar company.
Let's just start funding public works with calendars. I think that's a real model.
And I know how much calendars, how big of a thing that is for the new generation, is people love their paper calendars.
Paper calendars. That's a thing that all the Gen Z and whatever comes after them are really into.
Yeah. Well, before we head out, we do have some shout outs from members of our Portland Neighbors program. One of the perks of being a paying member of CityCast Portland is the opportunity to shout out a local business or organization that you love. John, you want to kick us off?
I would love to. The first one I have is from Madeline W., who wants to shout out ADX Portland, a makerspace that also hosts art shows. I can co-sign that one. ADX is awesome. I've spent a little bit of time down there. It is a very cool space, and they always have new galleries opening as well. So check out their website. There's probably a new show coming up that you're going to want to see.
Nice. Aaron A. wants to shout out Deborah Kruger Skin Studio, because they provide luxurious blissed out facials that blend care and technology. I love the Astrodome Oxygen Facial. What do you think that entails? An Astrodome Oxygen Facial. Are they blasting your skin outer space?
Isn't the Astrodome
it was an old
stadium in Houston?
Yeah.
Oh boy,
it's long gone, but yeah,
no relation.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
so many questions. I've got one more from John H., who wants to shout out Street Books, a street library that provides community resources and advocacy for people living outside or at the margins in Portland.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Madeline, Aaron, John, and a huge thanks to our newest members, Kristen C., Alex T., and Elizabeth N. When you join as a Portland neighbor, we'd also be happy to read your shout outs of places you love in Portland, on top of a bunch of other perks like ad-free listening. Join at membership.citycast.fm. That's membership.citycast.fm.
Yeah, do it.
Thanks again for hanging out with me, going through these headlines, and thank you everyone for listening. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. The first respite of the year. I want to keep saying the season. I'm like, the season.
It is a season. It's a season. It's the New Year season.
Have a good one, y'all.
All right. Thanks, Claudia.
Thanks, Claudia.
That's all for today here on CityCast Portland. Thank you all for listening. Our podcast production team this week was John Atariani, Julia Fiaioni, Elizabeth Kama, Lizzie Goldsmith, Noah Snyderman, and myself. Our newsletter editor is Rachel Monahan, and our host is me, Claudia Meza. Original music by Jenny Conley and Stephen Drizos. Additional music by Carl Christensen, All the Kimonos, as well as Sarah the Instrumentalist, Timothy Infinite, and Gregory David, courtesy of Epidemic Sound, along Opal 99 and D-May, courtesy of Triple Scoop Music. We'll be back Monday morning with more from around the city. Until then, see you at Slim's.